Picture this. You wake up one morning, late for the biggest interview of your life. You do your hair, brush your teeth, and look your absolute best before rushing out the door to arrive at your favorite camera manufacturer's headquarters. You have been handpicked to participate in a special interview. During this interview, you will be asked one question. What features will our new camera have? And no matter what you say, they will begin production on it immediately. So, what would you say? Now, the easy answer would be just give a generic spec bump. And while those are really cool, let's be honest, we're a little spoiled when it comes to those. Plus, I think there's a lot more features that we as photographers and cinematographers can use in our modern day cameras that the manufacturer companies just aren't making. So, instead of doing a generic spec bump, let's actually talk about what we really need as creatives. But before we can talk about the future of cameras, let's talk a bit about the past and what the camera started off as. The first camera developed was called a pinhole camera, and you can easily make this on your own. All you need is a shoebox, a little bit of tin foil, and some tape. Cut out a hole in the shoebox, put some tin foil over it, poke a tiny hole in the middle of it. Then you can place your own smartphone or photosensitive light paper in the back of it, and voila, you have your own pinhole camera. Now, the first pinhole cameras used a photosensitive copper foil to capture the image coming in from that little tiny pinhole. But for my example, I'm going to use a white piece of paper, and that's going to act as like a projection screen. I'm then going to put my smartphone in the box so that we can actually have video of our pinhole camera and not just a single frame. So this may not look like much, but this is the beginning of photography. Now, because of physics, the image is actually upside down, so let's just fix that in post. There. Every camera that you've ever seen with the high frame rate, action cams, drones, all of them stem from this very humble beginning. And this was how we were able to capture images for the very first time in history. So this is pretty remarkable. Simple, but remarkable. Now, keep in mind, these are more concepts as opposed to full fleshed out ideas. Remember, I'm just a film major, I'm not an engineer, so these ideas may not even be technologically possible given what we have today. But I still think these are something to consider when thinking about the camera of the future. So, without further ado, this is what I think the cameras of the future should start incorporating. Starting with my first category, security. It's a tale as old as time. A young photographer brings his new expensive camera out to a shoot. He doesn't want to carry it around all day, so he places it next to a tree thinking, it'll be safe there, I'm only going a few steps away. After shooting with the lens that he likes, he wants to swap out for a new one. So he heads back to the camera bag, only to find out it's been swiped, and with it, his whole career, future, and dreams. Hey, editor Andrew here. Now, unfortunately, I didn't record this next scene. When I thought I was recording it, I actually was hitting stop, and I recorded the time in between the takes and not the actual take itself. However, the basic idea is having some sort of AirTag system built directly into the camera and lenses. Now, I know we have AirTags that we can throw into our bags just in case things get lost in the airport, but oftentimes criminals will ditch the bag immediately because they know there's an AirTag somewhere on it. But if we have an AirTag built directly into the lens or the camera, then it means they can't get rid of the AirTag. Plus, it makes it a lot easier for us to track where the stolen items went. We don't have to hunt around every pawn shop in the city. We can track the exact pawn shop it went to, or at the very least, we could give the information to the police and they could do with it what they will. Having a built-in tracker into our camera and lens would go a long way in ensuring that our equipment is safe from thieves and that we could get it back in a timely fashion so that we can continue to do the job that we were hired to do in the first place. Let's say someone does actually steal the camera. Well, there's a lot of situations where photographers and cinematographers are under a type of embargo, or we just have some sensitive information that the client just doesn't want to get out there. Now, the chances of the thief leaking it are extremely low, but why don't we make it an absolute zero and put some sort of fall safe into the camera so that the thief can't access the photos or video, even if they tried, because nobody wants their information put out online. There was a time when the only way to lock your phone was through punching in a lock on the home screen. Nowadays, we have fingerprint scanners that instantly open up your phone. Smartphones have had this technology for nearly 20 years, so why haven't cameras caught up? We could easily integrate some sort of fingerprint scanner on the shutter button or even at the back of the camera where our thumbs are. That way it would ensure that only we have access to the camera since it's our fingerprints. But why stop at just the camera? What if we need to scan our fingerprints in order to unlock the SD card door? That way, we can ensure that whoever has the camera, they cannot access the photo without scanning our fingerprint, adding an extra level of security to the camera, not just for us, but also for our client's sake. But why stop at fingerprints? What if we had some sort of retina scanner in the viewfinder at the back of the camera? That way, we can ensure that only our eye could open up the camera in order to take videos or photos. Now, I understand that a lot of people don't use the viewfinder in the back for a lot of their work. So maybe this is a bit of a stretch. Maybe it's something we can toggle on and off with the fingerprint scanner. But it just adds an extra layer of protection to our equipment to ensure that if anything has ever fallen into the wrong hands, only we can access it and the thieves got nothing. They would also add an extra layer of security. Again, we could use it for the SD cards. Maybe it needs to scan your eye in order to open up the SD card door. But then again, why have SD cards at all? What if it all went straight to the cloud? Now, I know some of you are probably screaming that there's no way we can wirelessly transmit 8K raw video from the camera to the cloud. That I gotta be crazy for thinking about it. And truth be told, maybe I am. Remember, I'm just a film major. I'm not an engineer. I don't know if this is possible. But even if we can't do the full 8K raw, it still will be beneficial to have some sort of proxy that we could send to the cloud. That way, if something happens to our SD card, we still have some file available to show and give to the client. It may not be the full high-res resolution that we want, but it would still be something for the client so that we could say, hey, we did the work. This might mean the difference between a happy client and a very angry client. Now, this could actually be useful for a wedding photographer. In a wedding, you have to capture a moment, and if the media gets corrupted, there's no way you can recapture it. You can't make grandma shed another tear, you can't make the vows happen all over again, or the first kiss. If you miss the moment, you miss the moment. Which is why a lot of wedding photographers shoot with 2 SD cards at the same time. That way, if one of them fails, they always have the other to fall back on. And this is a really good plan, but what if we don't have to worry about that? What if we can add in an extra redundancy via the cloud? If the unthinkable happens, both SD cards fail, or we drop the camera in water or something like that that causes a corruption of the files, we have that extra backup on the cloud so that we can provide the clients with the experience that they have. And we don't have to spend all this time trying to figure out if we can even access our corrupt files using special software. It's already saved on the cloud, it's all safe for us. But what if we can go even deeper? As of right now, if you want to upload a photo you took from your camera onto social media, you need to take the SD card out, put it in a laptop or a computer when you get home, edit the file, and then upload it to social media. That could take maybe to the end of the day until you get a chance to get close to a computer and have the time to do it. But what if we could do it directly from the camera itself? What if the camera had a social media app on it so that we can go straight to whatever platform you like? Via Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, whatever. You could upload those videos or photos directly from the camera, no middleman. Now, I'm aware that we do have a smartphone and that essentially does the same thing, but nothing beats a proper professional camera when it comes to taking photos. And as of right now, smartphones just can't compete. So if you want the highest quality content, it's gotta come directly from the camera. So why not make it so the camera is compatible with social media so we can upload the photos directly to social media from the camera? That would be pretty cool. But what if we took it to the next level? What if instead of having social media, we could stream live directly from the camera to the platform of your choice? That way, you don't have to go through a smartphone. Now, I'm aware that some camera manufacturers do have an app that kind of turns your camera into a webcam. It kind of works, it kind of doesn't work. It would definitely be better if we could go directly from the camera to your platform of choice. That way, there's no clunky middleman, and we get the best quality possible, which would elevate your game in the live stream world. Hey, thanks for the sub. Now, have you ever been shooting and you're locked off on a spot? Maybe you're shooting wildlife or you're trying to shoot a specific sport and you recognize that the action is not going to come for a while, so you turn the camera off. You try to preserve the battery as much as possible. Only when the action finally does come, your camera can't turn on fast enough and you end up missing the shot entirely because this camera was too slow. It's happened to me more than a few times. In fact, this was the camera I was shooting on earlier in the video and I had to swap to my second camera, which, by the way, view coming on this bad boy because he is incredible, but all because the battery, these big guys, failed on me. Now, I know the answer is probably just to buy more batteries, but wouldn't it be nice if we could preserve the battery in the camera we have while not missing the action? And that's when I got to thinking about the smartphone. Remember how quickly we're able to turn on and off smartphones by our fingerprint scan? Well, that's because we're not actually turning the smartphone on or off. We're just turning the screen on and off. In reality, the smartphone is always on. It's always pinging towers, it's always sending data and receiving data. But a large part of the smartphone's battery is dedicated to turning on that screen. So you can turn off the screen, and all that really means is it's preserving battery on the most energy intensive aspect of it. Well, why can't we do the same with the camera? Why couldn't the camera stay on and we just turn off the viewfinder in order to preserve some battery? Now again, I don't know how much this would preserve, but I imagine it would preserve at least a little bit. Maybe we could wake up the camera with a fingerprint scan or the retina scan on the viewfinder. Either one of these could wake it up from a sleep mode instantaneously so that we could get the shot we need, then we could put it back on sleep mode. That way we can preserve as much battery as possible while at the same time making sure we never miss the shot. Okay, so my next thing actually doesn't have to do with photography. Well, it does, but I got the idea from audio. So when I was in film school, I actually didn't go for directing or cinematography, I went for audio. So I was usually on set as a boom op or a mixer. And as a mixer, you got a really cool digital recorder. Now, if you set up the metadata correctly, you could set it up for each scene being its own folder. That way, when you show up to the set, all you had to do was open up that folder and click record. Once the director yelled cut, you'd stop that recording. And the cool thing the recorder would do is it would mark that as take 1. It would then load up another file, mark it as that scene, take 2, and so on and so forth. It would automatically apply these takes, which meant it was really easy to figure out where the files were. So in post, when we had to combine the video and audio together, it was really easy. Just by looking at the metadata, we could figure out exactly what clip was where. And I think this could be really useful for photographers like ourselves. Let's say you're shooting multiple subjects in a day, or you're shooting multiple areas in a day. Wouldn't it be cool if we had a folder system set up so that we could have each one of those settings or subjects in their own folder? That way, we don't have to sift through thousands of photos to find the one subject or the one area we were really excited about. We just have to go through the specific folder, find that subject, edit, and send it right out. It would make the editing process faster, it would make us more efficient and more organized. We could even set up in the camera to have it set for a good or bad photo. For instance, if the photo was not sharp, missed focus, bad composition, someone ran in front of the lens, we could already mark those as bad photos, don't use them. So by the time we get to the editor, we know not to use that photo, we've already gone through it. It might only be a few seconds in the editor it saves, but that all adds up as we look through thousands and thousands of photos for multiple different clients. So it really helps in being organized, and on top of it, I think a folder system in modern day cameras could be really, really useful. Now, I'm aware there is some type of folder system, but it's kind of clunky and doesn't really work that well. A folder system, like I had on my audio recorder, where it just nails off the shots and it gets everything right the first time so that when I go into editing, I don't have to worry about it, that would be really cool. The last thing the camera manufacturers really need to work on is implementing something to protect photographers against AI. Is having something that allows us to see if an image is real or made by AI. Now, AI is a wonderful tool, and most creatives are using it already in their workflow, whether they know it or not. But as wonderful as AI is, there is a negative side to it, and photographers and artists as a whole are challenged the most against AI. Now, I don't think photographers are going anywhere soon thanks to AI. In fact, I think photographers are going to stay around for a long time. AI can't capture emotion. It can't capture something that happened. There's always going to be a need for photographers in this world. Whether it's taking a picture of a new product that no one's ever seen before, or taking a picture at a wedding, an event that can't be replicated. Photographers will always be needed. So no, I'm not worried that photographers are going to lose their job, but I am worried about the implications of what generative AI can do as a society. Photojournalism is a real thing. We've used photos to express how important things are, and they can convey emotions that words or a story just can't. The visual effect of seeing the ramifications of the story is incredibly important, and I think camera manufacturers need to have something of every photo and video that we take, showing that it is indeed a real real photo. It hasn't been manipulated by AI, is authentic and true to the artist, so that we can all look at the photo and do a test and see whether or not it is real. I think this is actually not just beneficial for photographers, but I think it's also beneficial for society as a whole. And I think camera manufacturers really need to implement some sort of way of putting in the metadata that is unchangeable and can't be copied, that a photo is real and authentic and not AI. Again, I don't know exactly how they're going to be able to do this, but they need to be doing something. But tell me what I missed down in the comment section below. I can't wait to hear what you guys have for the camera of the future. So until next time, take it easy, bud. I had these chipmunks here that are actually attacking me. This guy here, he's trying to attack me. He's my little buddy. Hey, I don't have any food for you. I'm actually surrounded by chipmunks.